Okay, in this video I have two things I want to cover. One is to work through an example concerning calculating the future value with compound interest. And two is to use this as an example to work through a problem on Desmos. That's the online calculator I recommend for the course. So just a quick review, compound interest. This formula is what we're using to calculate the future value when one lump sum of money is either invested or borrowed, and then no additional payments are made. So we have five variables here. Capital A is future value, that's measured in dollars. Capital P is the principal or the starting value, also measured in dollars. Lowercase r is the annual interest rate, given as a decimal. N is the number of compounds per year, and T is the total amount of time, always measured in years. So for example, if there's a problem that's in 6 months, T would not be 6. T would be 0.5 or 1/2, because 6 months is half of a year. That's important. Okay, so here's an example concerning student loans. You may want to pause the video for a moment and read this and start it up again. Okay, so let's say you take out a student loan for $10,000 at 5% annual interest, and that's compounded monthly at the beginning of the freshman semester. With an unsubsidized loan, you're charged interest from day one, but you don't have to make payments until 6 months after you graduate. So let's say you graduate in 4 years, so your first payment's going to be 4.5 years after you take out the loan. So now the question is, how much do you owe when you start making that first payment? You're going to owe more than $10,000, because before making that first payment, you've been charged interest. You've been charged a fee for 4.5 years. So now the question is, how much? First thing we want to do is identify all the important information in the problem. So I recopied the problem and just put in red all of the important information that we're going to translate over to the equation. So our principal is $10,000, interest rate 5% becomes 0.5, compounded monthly is 12 times a year, 4.5 years, so that's 4.5. And now the question here, how much do you owe? Well, that's the future value. That's what's unknown here. Okay, so this is a good idea, whether you're using this formula or another formula. It's always a good idea to sort of pull out the important information and just keep it organized. Okay, so we want to use the compound interest formula, and these are the values that we want to plug in here. So we have P is 10,000, R is 0.5, N is 12, and T is 4.5. So this is what we want to calculate, just replacing P, N, R, and T with the four values given in the problem. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to Blackboard. You could go directly to desmos.com or just click on the Desmos calculator link that I put up on Blackboard. And this is what the start page looks like. Just click on Start Graphing. Desmos is a graphing calculator, but we're not going to be doing any graphing. We're just going to be working with the calculator function on Desmos. I think it's a little bit easier in terms of not making mistakes with order of operations and using a handheld calculator. So you can ignore the graph over here. I'm actually going to move it out of the view. Okay, one more time. So I'm just going to type in exactly what I see. I'm just going to type in exactly what I see in the formula. 10,000 parentheses 1 plus R over N, so that's 0.05 divided by 12. And close the parentheses. I'm just using the key, the keys on the keyboard. So the backslash is division. There's a plus key. There's a minus key. The times key is the asterisk, Shift 8, and the exponent is the caret, so Shift 6. So I'm going to go to the power of n times t. So I'm going to put this in parentheses, so the whole thing becomes the exponent. N is 12 times t, which is 4.5. And that's it. You don't have to worry about order of operations. You don't have to worry about doing things in stages. You could just type into Desmos exactly what you see on the paper or on the screen, exactly what you're trying to calculate. So it looks like here, $12,517 and some change. So that means with this unsubsidized student loan for $10,000, you actually owe a little over $12,500 when you start paying it off. So that's a little more than $2,500 you're charged before you even make your first payment. It's a good thing to keep in mind when you're faced with a situation where you might have to take out an unsubsidized student loan. Okay, hope this helps both with the compound interest and with getting to know Desmos. Like anything, if you're using something for the first time, the best way to get comfortable with something is to just use it. So I recommend using Desmos for all of the calculations. We're also going to use this. I'm also going to use Desmos later on in the course. Okay, hope this helps.